My personal opinion is that moving sucks, and moving into this house was no different. There's always issues the inspection misses, like the mice issue that we had in this house, and then we had issues installing the floors. Because of this, we decided the first project in the new home needed to be a happy one and decided to make a rainbow headboard for my daughter who doesn't sleep in her own bed. This was my first time using a router and was great practice using the straight edge guide, circle guide. I did a ton of passes because I lowered the bit 1/8 of an inch each time until I had fully cut through the 1/2 inch plywood I was using. I used the dimensions of a 4x8 sheet of plywood and Kate's twin bed to come up with my measurements. I made each arch 6 inches wide and I wanted them to overlap by 3 inches. To do this, I used the first set of arches that I cut to mark the second sheet of plywood for the second set. After I cut them down to the size I wanted, I started assembling. My plan was to use lattice to hide the gaps in between each arch. I used 1x2 scrap wood to make these gaps. It propped up each arch on top of one another and then gave me something to nail the lattice in on either side. I made sure to use a ton of glue since the scrap wood is basically holding this entire heavy thing together. This lattice will snap if you bend it too much, but it worked great inside the arches. I just used a ton of glue here as well. This was the step that exposed all of the imperfections that come along with using a new tool and not knowing how to use it perfectly yet. But I was able to use backer rod on the one large gap and then wood filler and caulk on everything else to make it look finished. I'm a pretty indecisive person and I tend to change my mind a lot. This project was no different. I've changed my mind on the color palette a bunch. It's just really easy to paint over the existing colors and really therapeutic as well. This was a fun one to paint. I got a lot of feedback that this is not the traditional shape of a rainbow, and I totally get it, but we still loved the whole concept behind it. I glued together these cloud shelves as my nightstands. I attached some to the wall. These are going on the bed. To say this piece is heavy is an understatement. It is essentially 2 pieces of plywood called in reinforcements to get it upstairs. I screwed the cloud shelves onto the bed frame and metal brackets, but this is still not sturdy enough to hold a ton of weight. So my kids are very aware that they are not allowed to stand on this. The bed itself is just a $50 IKEA bed, and look how perfectly the headboard fits on it. I took off the bar that went across the back so that the back of the rainbow could sit back further. The weight of the headboard rests directly on the bed frame, and then I used the vertical bracket from the original headboard to secure it. And since it's so tall, I used anti-tip hardware as well. Since the headboard takes up space, the mattress does hang off the bottom by about 1 inch. This project didn't make me forget what had happened with the floors or the mice, and Kate still doesn't want to sleep in her own bed, but this is still one of my favorite projects to date.